You must change. We all must change. And that is the only thing that gives us what we want in our lives or also in the world. And we happen to be moving through a time in our world of significant change. So it might be even more challenging for you to change because that's typically what we fear when we're living our lives. When we come into the world, we have no clue as to who we're going to become. And that is the journey we each move on individually. And it's called your self-actualization or self-development, however you think of it. But I also know it's an ascension journey as well. And I know that that's what our world does. But I didn't change yet. And so I'm going to change first. Um, it was challenging for me to tell everyone that I lived my life and became this mystic, a prophet, and brought in this new information that could cause anyone to live this really wonderful life, and then it would cause our world to change, except that is exactly what has happened. But then telling everyone was challenging because I had to break from my old patterns, which is what we all must do, my old pattern of holding back and not being able to accept who I was. The only challenge, the only difficulty you will experience in your life is self-acceptance, is moving into that next version of who you're meant to become. Because we're all meant to become something. That's why you were born. Every person is connected to source, to God, to all that is. And if we remember that, then what happens is we change, we evolve, and we heal. And that is what has happened for me. I have healed everything in my life, and I'm 73 years old now, and I'm giving that back to others because I have to change. And that's why I am holding a channeling session tomorrow. Um, about embracing new beginnings because it's a new moon and it's a great opportunity for us to energetically accept who we have become now if we become willing to do that. And more of us who do, then we see a very different life experience that we have, but also a very different world because they're all connected. We come to figure that out at some point. But now might be a good time for you to change. I'm going to leave a channeling session that was held last year on August 1st, and it was called You Might Accept Who You Have Become Now. When you listen to that session, because this will probably be the only thing that I can give you that will explain how this happened for me and what my work is and what it can do for you. Because I'm telling you, it changes your life and it causes you to heal, know who you are, and live the life you were meant to have. Yes, I wish I could have had it when I was younger, but that couldn't have happened. Otherwise, I couldn't have developed it to give it to the world now. And that is what I'm doing. And so on Monday, I'm going to be making changes, as I've said. So I'd love for all of you to check it out because there will be so much more there because I have everything that can give any person the ability to transform and live the life they're meant to have. Doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, what you've done, I have your answers. And you will hear that in the channeling session because when I answer questions, I can always access that higher dimension of consciousness to answer your questions. And that's what went into my work. And that is what has healed my life. So please subscribe to this channel, share it with others, and come to the channeling session and check out all my links. And you will know how you can live the best life ever now. We're ready to begin. We are so pleased that you're all here, and we thank Yarna for that wonderful introduction. But now we're going to tell you the real reason that you're here and why we've attracted you here. Because there are many of you who didn't know why you were even pressing the button to show up, but you will understand today. And those of you who have been here before, where we say we've waited for you your entire lives, you will understand that today. This is not an accident. We planned this on this day, on this full moon, because it is the most powerful time on your planet, and you can take advantage of it if you understand what is occurring. We have said that you were moving through a restructuring of your world, and many of you have seen it as a split between the light and the darkness, and that those are wonderful qualities, but we want you to understand that you have been the darkness, you have been all of those things, but what you're here to do now is to shine your light. And we gave you a message on January 11th of 2012, as we've said, you're moving through this transition. You have done these throughout your history. You just don't remember it. This period has never happened in your world, which is why it's so stressful for so many of you, maybe frightening. And then there are others of you who are awakening to things that are really surprising to you that you didn't know would come about because it's your consciousness, you see. Everything, you exist in your consciousness. You've always existed. That is a difficult concept for many of you, but you have always existed because you're eternal spiritual beings. You have human incarnations at certain times because you want to accomplish something, but you don't remember what that is. It's a constant remembering of what you came to offer. Now, we want to tell you why you're having this particular restructuring in your world and why we've been saying that the United States would lead the way. You have periods throughout your history where certain countries, for instance, have taken the lead in how your world operates, and the United States was one of those countries. And they did that when they formed themselves, and that was at the time where Pluto made this big shift. Now, if you don't understand all your planets and how they're affecting you, now might be a good time because Pluto is heavily in play now, and it will be that way, which is why we are doing this today. And there are going to be movements in your world in the next few days that might cause you to have a little distress, but we want you to understand, no, that's not what's occurring. What's occurring is that you're attempting to create something better. You're attempting to create something better in your life so that you can offer that to the world. There's no one who doesn't have you all have the ability to create that, but you just had a misinterpretation. Now, we gave you that message on January 11th of 2012. And we want all of you to see that one. And then those of you who are really into numerology, you will wonder how we did this, but we put it on when you take the numbers of the date and you add them up, you get an 8. And what does that mean? It's about power and abundance and prosperity, which is what you're supposed to move to now, each of you, because you have the ability within you to do that. Now, this is what happens when you come into on the physical plane. You have an agreement. That agreement is to fulfill your mission. It is within you. The difficulty that you have at times is how you interpret your mission, you see, because you'll move through experiences, you have difficulties, you have challenges, you go over them, and then you carry around the shame and embarrassment, and they never allow you to access the true self. And we're talking about the self because we're talking about that greater understanding that all of you can come to at some point. Now, we're going to give you something because we tell you all the time that we lead our messenger Roger up to these places. We really inundate him with information because we want you to understand. And if you are reading any of our messages over the last week or so, you will understand that we led you to this date. And we are saying we kept giving you things. We had him write little different articles about evolution because it seems that not many understand the process of evolution, because if you did, you would know that you were a vital part of the evolution that's occurring in your world now. And the way that you will accomplish your goal is by understanding the message that we gave you, talking about your story. There are no insignificant beings ever born. None of you. You were born with purpose. You were born, but you accepted certain things. And this is why you might interpret them as being disasters or failures or things you couldn't accomplish. That never occurred. You were learning new things so that you could bring them to the world now, because you shift the world energetically. Now, there are many that are talking about the lightness and the darkness, and we understand that, but we want you to understand there's only light. And so all you have to do is access yours, and it's within each person. But what will happen is that you will have mistakes that you think you made, or disasters, or where you didn't accomplish something, not understanding that you were being guided to the true self that you wanted to become. We're going to give you another instance because we did something else. We wanted to talk about Carl Jung, and we had our messenger speak about that. We actually had him write an article in October of last year, but many of you might not have understood that then. But he said, I might be channeling Carl Jung. Well, you're all channeling something, because you come into the world with memories. You're not born naked, as you might have thought. Your physical bodies were naked, but your consciousness has always existed. And so you decide, what am I going to access now? What am I going to start to own now? What am I going to bring in now? And it's always going to be moving through some limitation or restriction. You couldn't create the world that you have now unless beings came before who decided that they were going to create something something new. It happens all the time. But when you think that something is going wrong, it takes away your ability to create what you came and to own who you are or to feel empowered. Everything that we have given you for decades now was bringing you to this time to understand that your world will become what you want it to be when you become who you are meant to be. And it's within each person. But the only problem that happens is you don't think it's you. And it's always you. You have something that is so magnificent that you were born to bring into this world, and it's asking you to do that. Now, this is why many of you have felt recently, I don't understand why I'm moving in these different directions. I don't understand why I want to leave this place and move to a different one. I don't understand those things because your higher self, your guides have always been speaking to you and guiding you, but you resist. Just like Roger resisted. We've told you that. We've talked about it often. And if you were to listen to the session that we did last July 28th, you would probably hear the same words. If you were to go back and listen to any of our recordings from the year and a half or almost 2 years now, you would see that everything that we told you then is occurring in your lives and in your world now. But what happens is it takes time for you because you have to use linear time to understand who you are. So it is a process. And the only thing we did, there are many beings on the planet now who understand this information, who understand the changes that your world is moving through. And you've listened to many of them. You go and you listen to their lectures, or you go to their presentations, or whatever it is. We did something different. We gave you something every single day. We wrote it all down. We had our being write it down every day, and it's how he transformed his life. And so we thought that if you saw a being who could exemplify everything that you want to achieve, that you would follow that way, and that you would put your energy into yourself so you could magnificently create this new world. And that's what you're all doing. But it's going to look a little disruptive because what happens is you don't want to change. And so if you think about yourselves, how you have been unwilling to own yourself, you're unwilling to recognize the life path that you have had, and and to get over all the judgments you've had. We've told you your only difficulty will be your self-judgment. That is always your difficulty, is your self-judgment, and then that causes you not to have self-belief. That is the process of ascension. Your planet does the same thing. You will come to a greater awareness of your importance, why you wanted to be on the earth. But then when you do that, guess what happens? You start to see it in everyone else, and then you stop killing each other, because that's why you have wars now. That's why you have people trying to hold on to power. And when we first began doing these talks, we told you that every civilization, you move through periods of struggle where you're going using power, money, and control to control one another. It's gone on since the beginning of time, since man was placed on the earth, since humans were placed on the world, in the world. Let's just call it that, because that's the other problem that you've had, which you're trying to rectify now, which is why we said the women will become more important. But it's the feminine energy. You see, you're trying to balance your energies because they've been off for so long. This is why you've subjugated women and other races and all of that for eons, because you didn't understand that all people are the same. You are here now to change the dynamic. You are here to change the paradigm. And that's what we have called your fifth dimension. It is a different level of thinking. And what we wanted you to understand, it's joyous when you get there. And we, again, wanted you to see a being who's gone through everything that you could have possibly imagined. And he tells you, you can do the same thing. It's just like Jesus said, but you didn't believe him either, as we've told you. And you didn't believe Buddha. You didn't believe the others. But now you might want to change that. What happens is, as you live in your life, you start to understand this other connection. It's a higher level of understanding, or dimension, let's call it. And then you start to see that you have all these great abilities and powers. You can actually manifest things instantly when you reach that place. And we've proven it again with our being, even though he's held back, but we've used him as an example, and he agreed to that. We will repeat this again because we know that many of you are new here, and we want you to understand. We said that you each will have different life paths that you want to follow, because it's going to add something to your world. Sometimes they look crazy. Rogers was crazy. He went through every imaginable illness, disease, accident, failure, all of those things in the early part of his life, because then he could receive the information from us to give to you so that you evolve. So what we had him do is go back and look at Carl Jung. Now, he had never studied Carl Jung. He's never studied anyone, because we didn't even let him know this is what happens. Your higher guides will do this for you as well. We didn't allow him to know he had ADHD until he was 70 years old. He's going to turn 73 in November, and we keep talking about that because you never have to age, you see, when you understand this information, but it does take your willingness to do it. Many of you give up. Now, so what we're saying is that at this time, you're meant to own who you are so that you can add energy. You're going to see disruption. You're going to see divisions. You're going to see all of that stuff. There was someone who did speak to us the other day and said, oh, well, we don't want to talk about politics. And so we will say to you, well, then you don't want to own who you are. You see, as humans, you come into the world to have complete dominion, to have over your bodies, over everything. And then, but what you've done over eons, again, is you kept giving away that power. You kept giving it away to others, but this is the control that has existed in your world. But you came to change it, because when you decide to love yourself, when you decide to do what you came to do, then the dynamic changes. The world is created energetically. You've known that. You're discovering it more through your quantum sciences, and you will get more of that soon, because more is being revealed. It's a constant evolution that you all move through, and your world is doing the same thing. Not everyone is going to have the same awareness that you do. And this is why we started talking about relationships, because you're going to have a little difficulty with that moving forward, because you're all moving into your individual beings, but you all came with those restrictions. We will say not everyone's going to want to move through them. That's going to be your conflict. And we gave you a message in 2012 where we wanted you to understand that conflict and unity always coexist in human experience, meaning you can't change anything in your lives or become more unless you see what isn't working and then decide to change it. That's what you're doing in your life, and that's what the world does, but it can only do that if you decide to do it first. That's what we wanted to give to you. Now, we gave you this message because we knew that with our work, if we could get more people to understand that one message, the way that you interpret your story, you would not only have the greatest life experience that you would ever want to have, but you would also make a contribution, an energetic contribution, again, to your world. And then you won't see the kind of craziness that you have happening now. And we told you about everything. You can go back and listen to all of this. We keep telling you, reminding you of what we have told you before, because we want you to understand that you've always been guided. You just don't hear it at the time that it's coming through. Our messenger didn't hear any of this when we first gave it to him. He didn't know it. He couldn't live it. Even when we gave him the one about your story, he couldn't do that because, see, he still had judgment on himself by what he moved through. Like what some of you do, not understanding that that's the most brilliant thing that you could add to the human collective is when you have moved through something and discovered something, even though it's challenging and terrible for you, tell others about it and give them some hope. That's what you're meant to do, each of you. But then when you hold back, nothing changes. And so we had an incident last week. We're changing everything now because more of you, there's energy that's happening in your world now, and you'll see it, like we said, during this week. And we want you to become so empowered that it doesn't frighten you, because it's a change that is happening, and it's going to look one way, but we're telling you that it's going to be something great when you decide to love yourself. The one thing that is so amusing to us is that how many of you have not understood your importance, and you haven't understood. You keep giving it away to others, but that's been programmed into you. You see, that is the old dynamic that has been controlled you. And it's happened in all kinds of countries and races and civilizations. We've often said you can go back and study your ancient history, and you can see that there were civilizations that used to exist that no longer do, because people didn't change. The humans that didn't change to embody something that would be for the best of all. What we're saying is that you're in a period now where if you make decisions in your life that are going to cause you to feel great and wonderful, and you know it's for the greater good of all, you're going to have this magnificent life, and you're going to have this magnificent world that none of you have seen yet, but you're creating it now. So that's what we wanted to begin with, but we're going to attempt to get in as many questions as we can, because we can feel them. Many of you have them, and so we'll just get to as many as we can. And as we said, we will probably answer yours even if we don't get to all of them. So we will let San handle that.
Yes, thank you so much. And yes, already the questions are coming in. Excellent. So real briefly, if this is your first time here, you can click on the Q&A button in your Zoom control to ask a question, and I will ask it on your behalf. I put 10 extra minutes on the timer to see if we can make sure that we can get to all of your questions. So we will be completing at 40 past the hour. When the questions are closed, all questions that have been asked will be answered, even if we run over time. But if we don't get to your question, if you don't get a chance to ask your question, simply bring it with you to the next session. Okay, question 1. The last question I asked, you mentioned that I had some sort of block. I've been trying to clear a block for the last few years that's preventing me from moving forward. I've tried to clear it myself via numerous healers, shamans, and forensic healer a couple of weeks ago, and yet still feel that there is something stopping me. Can you give me any insight on what can be done about clearing it?
Yes, you hadn't met us yet, that's all. You'll hear many people who've come to our work. You come into the world at different times to bring in information. It's always an evolution of consciousness. And please stop judging yourself because you haven't done it yet. You've been working on this. We've told you how long we've been pushing our messenger to bring this forth. He understood it all, but oh no, he couldn't talk about it. And this is why we kept bringing up Carl Jung as well, because you understand your personalities. There's certain things that hold you back, and especially those in the spiritual community, because many of you are introverted, like Roger and like Carl Jung was. And so you're introverted and you know this information, but breaking through it takes some time. So we want you to be patient with yourself, because you're using your human brain to change your neural pathways that you've created or allowed to be created. So it's going to take some time, but then it breaks through. And we will tell you that when it happens, it's wonderful. But we want you to stop the judgment, because see, you've been working on this and working on it. We gave you a message about that as well, because we said you're always working on yourself. But when you think that you haven't gotten there, you're putting an energy that is preventing you from getting there, because you're saying you're doing something wrong. You're not. You're in process. But we thank you for bringing that question, because many of you have felt that. So you've just answered that for so many others. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Once or twice a year, I have a health episode where I vomit uncontrollably, can't eat, sleep, or drink.
Mm-hmm.
This time I saw flashes of white light in my eyes. What was that? And what are these health episodes that feel like something more than just physical sickness?
It's your resistance, and don't worry. You all will have that. Many of you have felt very physical things, especially recently. You might be feeling the gastrointestinal things going on now. Many of you might even be having acid reflux. A lot of things are going on because your bodies are changing. Your planet is changing, and these are the energies that are going on. And then you're moving through what we call ascension symptoms. Many people have said that we have called them something different, but our being has gone through all of them. He's gone through more of those things than you can possibly imagine. And yes, they were frightening and difficult and challenging, but once you move through them, you heal everything. This is why we keep talking about healing. Not all of you will do that, but you can do it. He's healed everything through the work that we have given him. This is what we want you to understand. Things that doctors told him were impossible. You have more ability than you can possibly know, but please be patient with it and stop denying that you are moving into this new place, because we can feel that you are. And so just be patient. Don't worry. All of these things that are coming up are new for you, because your guys are saying, we want you to let go of all of this material, physical stuff and start to embrace your spiritual side. And you're doing that. And that's why you're having this slight resistance in your body. But many of you will have that during this time, because the energies are so intense. Do not worry. We're going to keep guiding you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for your question. And oh my goodness, already we are at capacity with questions. Our pool is full. We will answer all of the questions that have made it into the queue. And as I said before, please bring your questions to the next session if you didn't get a chance to ask it yet. The next question: is there a difference between spiritual enlightenment and spiritual mastery? Are these states possible for us in this lifetime? Is this the goal for this group?
Yes. We love that so much. You guys are so great. We love the questions that are coming through. They are the same thing. Enlightenment takes you to this place of mastery. And so it's a thing that you're always in process of doing. Your world, your planet is in the process of doing it as well. It never gets there, however, but we want you to start doing more of that. So don't make the distinction so, because what happens is the enlightenment usually comes first, where you start to become aware of something. You say, okay, I'm seeing something now. And then you start using it. Then you start implementing into your life. And then you reach this state of mastery where you know you're no longer guessing. You kind of know, I can create this, I can manifest this because I have become enlightened enough to use those powers and what I've understood in terms of mastery in my life. So we love that. So this, you're so right on your path, and we love that. So thank you.
Thank you for that question. Will I get approved for this ability?
if it's part of your plan. This is, we're never fortune tellers. We can tell you the energies of everything that's happening in the world. However, we will give you a little bit more though for you, because you're depending on the disability and you don't need to. This is what you've been waiting for. You think the disability is going to save me, and no, there's something within you that you've been holding back, that if you were to unleash it, you wouldn't even need the disability. We're saying this because many of you will use these kind of forms to get yourselves by a financial standpoint. This is why we've been talking about the money for so long, because this is the time today that you need to start to shift that belief. And so if you're not getting the disability, it probably means that your guides are saying, please manifest in a new way and stop holding yourselves back. If the disability is going to help you reach that new level of who you're supposed to be, then fine, it'll show up. But if it's going to hold you back, if it's going to give you this dependency, if it's going to keep creating this need that you think you have, then it probably won't come through. But you will figure that out. But regardless, just start to own who you are, and whichever thing is supposed to come through will, because you're on a divine plan. You each have a plan that cannot be screwed up if you follow your guidance. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Hello, Wilhelm. I have cysts in my liver. I feel bloated and uncomfortable as a result. Mainstream medicine has no way to treat it, which perhaps is a benefit for me because I don't want to be on any drugs. However, I have no idea how to treat it. Can you offer any guidance as to the underlying cause or a direction for healing?
Yes. We want you to every single day start healing your liver. That's what we want you to do. And it's going to be a mental process. And we've given you many ideas about this. And we even gave you one yesterday. If you look on any advice for today, we said it's a mental process that you're all moving through to do anything. So when you are having a condition, we gave you something on this on your physical healing in 2012, because that was the bulk of the information we wanted you to understand. Now, you will have physical symptoms that come up. Now, sometimes you will heal them. Sometimes you will use whatever modality will cause that to happen. You go to healers, or you traditional medicine, whatever it might be, you will do that. And if that's supposed to work for you, it will work. And if it doesn't, that means there's something about your spiritual healing that you need to move through. No matter what, you're not in this body forever. You are only in this body for a finite period of time. And while you're here, you're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to enjoy yourself. And this is where we're leading all of you, because when you start doing that, you will find that you start to heal. Now, we're not going to, we could give you all we've told you many of these, and we really advise many of you to read our book that we had Roger write called Overcoming Fear, where he went through many of us. He didn't do all of them because there's so many, you wouldn't believe it. So we gave him certain examples of the physical things that he healed that the doctor said wasn't possible. And we even gave you a story from his grandmother that, because he struggled with this for so long, how come I can't heal everything? And she said, you work to the level of your understanding. Your understanding is the state of consciousness that you reach, and that is a continual goal that you each have, a process that you do every single day. Don't try to rush to get there. Now, if you're not finding, and we're feeling this too, because the doctors have not been that terribly concerned, it seems, but it's been the discomfort that you've been feeling. We want you to become more comfortable with yourself, but take a practice every single day. Give yourself 15 minutes, a half hour where you're sitting and meditating and just envisioning this healing moving through your body. It does work if you're diligent about it, because you have that much ability and power. But thank you for bringing that to our attention, because many will be moving through experiences similar to yours. We don't want any of you to become afraid. You don't die, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Am I on the right track to be my best self?
Yes, we love you. This is what happens. See, you could never ask that question unless you were on it, unless you were on it and still doubting it. That's what's going on. You know that you're on it, but you're doubting it. So don't worry. It's, as we said, we could take you back. We'll give you this, because many of you, we can feel this from so many of you think, I haven't gotten there yet. What's taking me so long? You're in process. You're always in process, and you never get there to complete it. So don't worry. But we had our messenger have a dream in 2005, which we've mentioned before, where he was supposed to bring in all of this work. He didn't do it. No, it's not me. I couldn't do it. He put the dream away, put it in his closet, wasn't even going to look at it. Many of you have done that. And many of you now are finding these old things that are magically kind of reappearing in your lives that you put away. Sometimes you put them away when you were children, but now they are coming up. So please just know, we love you so much for bringing this up, because we're just giving you confirmation. Yes, you are on your right path. Just keep going. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. How will tonight's supermoon affect the intention to manifest?
Thank you. It'll depend on what you decide to do and believe. This is each of you. We gave you this because there's so many energies happening in your world now. This is why this full moon is so incredibly powerful, and there are many other things coming, many other configurations that are happening as well, which has made the energies of your planet really confusing for many of you. However, this particular one, you have the opportunity to make a decision in this moment using the energy of this full moon to declare, as Yarna lovingly said in the first meditation, we couldn't have planned that, where he said, take the one thing that you're going to do, and that's for each of you, because it's there. Sometimes you block it off, sometimes you don't believe it, but now it's there. So you have something that's within you because you're aware of it, because you couldn't have asked that question unless you knew it. You felt the energy of it. We want you to embrace it, and just know that where you're going is going to be so helpful, not only for you in your life, but for your planet. So thank you for that awareness.
Thank you so much for your question. Next question here. If I step into my power and what I think is my purpose, will it take long to know that I made the right choice?
No. Yeah, again. Wow. You guys are so wonderful. See, you're sitting right there on the edge of it. You're sitting right there. You see it, and you're afraid of taking that step. Just like Roger. That's it. You're doing just the same thing he did, because we kept pushing him. We've been doing it for years, for decades, actually. But he wanted to have the proof first. Many of you do that too. You want to have the proof of what you're doing. But you are sitting there now knowing that you have to take this next step. And the fear that's there is what's holding you back. We said, again, if you go back to the old messages, we told you what Roger did. He knows that the work that we have given him, the people in his program, some of them may even speak on it. We might even hear from some of them. However, we will tell you that it changes your life. And it's the same kind of thing that most of you would pay $25,000 for, and he's not charging that much. And we've talked about this often. You can go back and hear that. But he has this desire that he thinks that he can help everyone, which he can't, because many won't change. And so we have to get him to stop doing that, just as you will. However, for you, you have something that is right in front of you, and we are giving you this information because we just want you to take the next baby step. Because see, it feels too big for you right now. Just take the smallest step and just keep moving every single day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. Is being in a medical institution part of my future?
If you want it, That question, again, you each are questioning the guidance that you're receiving, because that felt like you want to go into this medical institution. Yeah, this is because you know that some part of you has been drawn to that, and if you were to do it, it would make a difference. But there's another part of you that feels, wait a minute, I'm not that important. I couldn't do that. Many of you have carried this one, and this is why we want you to move beyond it. If that is something that feels aligned with your soul path, and this is what we're talking about now, many of you not understood this, it's your soul path. First of all, we want to talk about this. We have given you information not to keep you off in some la land. That's never the information that we gave you. Yes, you are spiritual souls and you have always existed, but you live in this physical 3D world. You're supposed to enjoy it. You're supposed to have money. You're supposed to have all the riches that any other human has, but you can't do that unless you bring these things together. We've told you that Roger knew that he was supposed to marry science, spirituality, and human development and potential. This is why we led him to Jung, because that's what he did. And if you go to the Wikipedia, you will see that Jung was influenced by so many other people who came before. And then he came in and brought his work. And then you look and you see all the others who came after him who were influenced by him. That's what each of you do. But you can't do that until you own who you are. But you're in this place right now where you're about to make this step into that next place. And so we want you to keep going. The doubts are going to be there. That's okay. But then once you move over them, it's joyful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yes, there is a theme here. How can I know if I'm on the right path?
This is why we did this today. Now you all understand, because we knew you were going to be confused, you see, which was the other reason for the message that we had on the screen a while, because your path is correct. You just have to figure out why. We use the quotation marks. When you see that message again, we want you to understand that we use the quotation marks under job. Your only job then is to figure out the perfection of your story. You each are living it, and you do that gradually because it's a development of your consciousness that happens daily, which is why we've always given you our work daily, because that's how it worked for our being. We're going to explain this again because many of you get impatient, and we wanted you to understand this. When we had him change the name to your last development program, even though that's just a portion of all the information we've given you a new philosophy, by the way. And the new philosophy is called your life operating instructions, because you're moving into a new world, and you can't take the old stuff there and expect to make your contribution in your life, in this physical life that you're experiencing now, and your future world, unless you understand your importance and what you have moved through. So that is what is happening now. And so each of you are having these questions about, am I on my right path? And we have told you always, you're walking in your purpose. You just have to figure it out. But it's the judgments that you've had about everything that has happened before that are holding you back. But then there's more. There's some of you who are so new, you're young, and you're coming up with ideas that you didn't understand either. And so you're doubting those, not understanding that there's a continuation of consciousness, and you came into the earth at this time to bring in new awareness. So no matter where you are in this evolutionary scale, you're all in the right place. You just have to start believing it. That's all. And that's the process of self-actualization that we've guided you on. And that's our entire work is about self-actualization and self-empowerment, because that's how you live your best lives. And you're supposed to be happy and successful and abundant. This is why we're giving you this today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. Next question. I want to start nursing school, but I also want to work. A job also presented itself as well. Mm-hmm. Which way should I go? I already work, but fear I will make the wrong move. Mm-hmm. What should I do?
First of all, you can't make the wrong move. You have to make the one that feels the best for you. There's always a way, and we've given you this before. There is always a solution, a spiritual solution to everything that comes up in your life. But what you have to do is take the time. We've given you many processes to move through this. And one that would work for you right now is what we call our pro and con exercise. And so when you're looking at the options that are before you, what are the pros of that one? What are the cons of it? And you're going to make a list and you're going to look at them all. And then you're going to see what feels right to your heart, because that's what's going to happen. But you've been programmed to not believe you can do certain things. All of you have, we're saying. And so you have to use other techniques to break you out of your limitations. And so this would be a great one for you, because all the options that you have that are before you are great ones, but you have to do the one that feels the most aligned for you, and you can't, there's another thing too that we just felt, that you have this fear that if you don't take some job that you're going to then be destitute or something. And that's not a choice that we would want any of you to make. And we talked about that in our book as well. But we want you to understand that when you make the choice that feels more aligned to you, that's a good feeling, you're going to be much more successful, because that's going to be aligned with your soul mission. So we just need you to do a little bit of work and you'll come to that answer. Thank you.
Thank you for that brilliant question. Should I try to heal my tumor through various natural healers or have surgery?
First of all, you use the word should. And whenever you're using should, you're going to run into some difficulty, because the should tells us that you are relying on some other information for you to make your choice. And that information is always going to be limited because it came from others or came from different people. And even your doctors sometimes can't tell you the actual thing that you should do. Let's say that's going to be a decision that you make. Now, we will tell you that Roger didn't made a decision about this. We're going to give you something on this. When we've talked about his foot, he lost half of his part of his left foot because he had this horrible disease that just destroyed his entire life many years ago. And we've talked about this again. Not all of it's been out there, but it will be, because we're going to have him write a full book. But anyway, and so as he was going through this, he thought, can I heal this all? He's doing all these alternative things to try to get to this place where he could heal himself. He couldn't do it, but he kept trying. And then he got to the place where he had to have medical intervention. But at that time, the medical intervention was causing him that just took a whole nother turn. However, what was happening at the same time is that he was resisting taking care of himself. He was resisting loving himself. He had given himself away to so many others, like many of you have done. And so then those medical things start to show up that seem insurmountable, but they can always be corrected if they're for your lifetime, if this is what's meant to happen on your evolutionary path. So the choice that you're going to make is going to be an energetic one. Now, we will tell you, yes, he did not do he went to the doctor, let's say too late, as some of you might think of it, but he knows now that all of those choices were correct. Because even though he went through all of that stuff, even though he had all of that pain, he went through drug addiction, he went through all of those things for years and years and years, he's grateful for it now, because he couldn't have been sitting here and giving you this unless he understood what you could do. And that was part of his path. None of you have to do that. You're supposed to give back things to others so they don't have to go through those things. And that's what we're doing. And we've used him to do it. So we want you to make a choice that feels right with your heart. No matter what the outcome might be, it will be something for your evolutionary growth, not just for something on this physical world. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. Why am I so severely scared of changes happening around me and in the world? How do I overcome this fear and take back the control?
Oh, thank you so much. Now you understand why we've been doing this for the last several years and why it was such a push to get Roger to do this, because he knew that we needed him to come out and speak and put together our work and a program and bring you all together to do these, and he held back. You are scared because your world is changing very quickly. There's so many energies going on. None of this has happened. And we've given you things where we tried to explain the astrology of it all, or how the galaxies, the planets are moving. Everything is energy. And so you've never had something like this. This has never occurred. When we talked about Pluto, we want you to understand this, because Pluto was this 248, 50, some people say 50, we use 248 48 years that it takes to move around. Energy is energy. And so that's when the United States was formed. When you have a return of something, which is what's going on currently, then you have a reckoning. You have to look at things. What didn't I do? What can I change? Why didn't I live up to myself? All of those things are going on. And so when that is happening, that's happening for you, and it's happening for your planet, you see? And so this is why many of you have been afraid. And this is why we had to push him, because we said we don't want people to be afraid. If you listen to our earlier message, we said that the point and the reason we were doing them is because we didn't want you to have fear and doubt, because the changes were going to be immense, and there are going to be more of them, and you'll see them this week. So this is why we're doing this today. So thank you for being here, and we love you so much. And all you have to do, we're going to do more of these, because we're feeling this, because some of you haven't, even those who are in the program, we'll keep doing some more, because not all of you will come into the program, but we want to do something that we can keep giving you some guidance, because it'll be a little turbulent, but when you're coming together and having fun with us, it becomes a little different. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. The next question. Many times I have memories from another period in time in history.
Mm-hmm.
I can see myself, albeit not clearly, but I know it is me. Many of the struggles I'm seeing today felt like I've seen them already.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm outside of my body looking at me. Does this make any sense?
Yes, we love you. Thank you. Many of you might start having these things come up. When we first started giving Roger this information, it freaked him out. And so what he did, he started going. We said we gave you everything. You could give this to the world. You could heal your world. He said, no, that's not possible. I'm not going to do it. And he kept running from it. And so he couldn't accept these memories that were coming through. So we had him he had 2 Akashic Records readings done during that year, because he said, I need some validation. And then he got the validation, and it helped him. He understands his ancient past. He understands his connection to Egypt. He understands all of that stuff, and he has glimpses of it. You all have ancient memories. You're not necessarily going to get all of it, but you, on the other hand, you're just a wonderful guide, and you're starting to understand this, because these memories are coming through for you at just the right time, because your planet wants you to remember that. But don't try to rush it. Now the others, many of you will not have that. And so we don't want you to make yourselves feel less than because you're not having that. You're each having individual experiences, and you're not going to access the same types of information. Many of you would not sit and do the kind of work that Roger is doing, but you do have the ability to access the kind of information, because we are just speaking from a different realm of existence, from that higher dimension, which we've told you the other day was ultimate reality. Because when you get to ultimate reality, you start to see, oh, wait a minute, everything was fine. I was perfect. That's what you come, but you don't get to that till later. We're just trying to get you there a little bit quicker now. So thank you. You're on a great path, and you're going to help so many. Just keep going, and the memories, this is what will happen. We're going to give you something else. As you're listening to others, as you're listening to us, and as you're listening to others, those memories will become more. And it'll be a kind of a daily thing. But then you start to accept it more, and then it becomes a different reality for you. And then you start to see things in a new way. And that's the most glorious place to be. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you so much for your brilliant question. Next question. Hi, I've experienced the universe breathing me.
Mm-hmm.
Am I to anticipate more reboots whereby the full breath cycle has been completely revitalized and consistent?
Mm-hmm.
I anticipate you know what I'm talking about here. Thank you.
Yes, we do, and you're moving through it. We've talked about the birthing cycle so often, and many of you use different modalities, and you're becoming quite aware of this. So we don't know what you're going to do with it, but it's going to be something so terrific. But we told you about a practice that many of you're all using breath work now. Many of you are doing that. But there was a practice that we had Roger do, which is called rebirthing, which is a process that he would go to this practitioner, and they would have him hyperventilate. And he started re-experiencing his birth and getting these memories and all of that, because you all have those memories. And when you don't you don't move through them, because they're all restricted, as we've said. But when you don't move through them, then you don't accept who you are, and then you can't give your essence to the world, and then your world stays where it is. And this is why we've been guiding more of you to this place. So you are coming to this greater awareness, which is quite wonderful. And so just keep staying on it. That's what we want to say. We can't interfere with that. You're just on this great path, and we're just going to keep giving information that's going to guide you more. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. How to move forward and embrace my truth when it is paralyzing to move forward? Can you please offer me some insight in what might be blocking me? In love and gratitude.
Fear. This is why we wrote the book. We wanted to give you an example because our being here had so much of it and he couldn't move forward. But for you to write that question, we're so proud of you and we love you so much. And don't worry, because you have an awareness that is opened, and it's just going to be a gradual acceptance, which is why we gave you today acceptance. We want you to understand that. And you will even see the message that we left on our site. It's always about acceptance. You all garner this, you have accumulated worth and value as you have lived, but you have to kind of examine that for it to be made real to you now. And so you're in that process of accessing all of this. All of you are. And so we just want you to understand this is nothing that is going to be stressful for you when you let go of your resistance to becoming and accepting your new self, because you've all become something more. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And as there are many of you who might be new to this whole experience, I just wanted to clarify where you can actually get Roger's book and check out the course that Wilhelm keeps referring to. Just go to Roger's website, rogerburnley.com. You can look at the course right there, and you can also check his book out right there. So wanted to make it easy for you, especially with so many of you having fear on the heart. I urge you to check it out. The next question: how can we be of service to others without feeling drained? How can we provide quality service to others when we only have a few minutes with each visit? This is concerning the healthcare field.
Yes. Thank you. We wanted Roger to speak on this, and he was going to skip over it. And you brought it up because many of you who've been in the helping, the caring field in the last several years, you've been called on so much more. But then there's another thing that's happened in your society over years as well, as you haven't put as much benefit or worth on those professions. And even when you went through your pandemic, you all of a sudden had this awakening. Oh, maybe we need these people because maybe others might need some help. So, and then, but you don't pay them enough money. This is why we keep talking about this. You have to restructure everything. And so when you are, and this is, but we're going to speak to you specifically because we can feel this. You are such an empathic person. You are so giving. You have done this your entire life, and you just can't even let that patient go until you know that you have given them everything. And this is Roger. And this is why we told him today, you can no longer do this. We don't want you to bring people into the program that are going to give you so much stress that because he will do this. And many of you have seen it. He'll just stay there until they get in. He's way too old to keep doing that. And we're saying this because you have done something similar. So now you're going to shift that. Because many of you will need to start protecting your boundaries. We want you to understand that, because people who are empathic or way showers, you have these open hearts, but then you think that you can do it for everyone and you forget about yourself. And we're saying this because our being here has done it for so many years, and we're saying, no, this is a new paradigm. You have to move now. So for you, please, you need more boundaries. You cannot help them all. Think of their souls. They're on. You can give them all of your guidance and help in the instant that you're working with them, and that's enough. They have their own individual journeys, and you're supplementing that. But you are important as well. So there's a shift in your boundaries that is going to come about, and we're so glad that you brought up the issue, because now you will make some changes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. Dearest Wilhelm, is there anything you can tell me that is important for me to know or that is insightful to me at this moment in my life?
Yes, you, you have never understood how important you are. That's why you're asking that question. You have been walking around with this feeling of insignificance that is now ready to change. That's why it's coming up, and you've been feeling this because we can feel you've been pushed to question, what is it? Where am I going? Yes, you have never felt your importance. Many of you haven't done that because you think that, especially with your world the way it looks now, you think you have to go out and do something big and all that. No, all you have to do is be in your presence and love yourself. That's going to be more than enough. When you understand the energetic composition of not only your life, but of your world, you will start to use your energy in a much different way. And so for you, it's just about appreciating your presence, your life. And again, that first message that we had on the screen today, your story. When you look at that more, you're going to come away with a greater sense of understanding of who you are and the importance that you have never noticed within yourself. And again, this is what our work does to you as well, is to get you to really come to that sense of self-empowerment. But thank you for that.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. And we are approaching the last couple of questions here. And yes, we are over time. And at the top of the Q&A portion, I did share that we are going at least 10 minutes over time. If you have to leave, okay, the replay will be available. Here we go. I have been with my husband for many years. Our children are independent, and now I'm feeling my own yearning for independence, emotional and sexual independence.
Mhm.
I love my spouse very much, but there are aspects of myself that are not met in our partnership.
Mhm.
I feel that there must be a way to include these parts of myself, even though I am aware that even thinking these things breaks traditional rules of marriage.
Mhm.
Can you speak to this? I don't feel that I am wrong, but but I don't know what it means to be right around this.
None of you do. And we thank you for bringing that up because many people are questioning this now, especially. You come in as an individual soul. You're meant to have this autonomy and sovereignty as the way you live your life. But you have partners. This is why we're talking about relationships now. And we're going into that because many of you will start questioning your relationships, but you must understand that they served you. But what we're feeling with you now, you're going to break some rules because the first rule you're going to do is sit and have a conversation with your husband about it. Oh, wait a minute. No, can't do that. That's uncomfortable. Yes, we know. That's why we want you to do it. But it's going to be a loving one. You're just going to be honest, and it's going to be helpful for both of you because he's feeling the same thing. He knows something is not where it used to be because you've both changed. And so now the traditional marriage is not supposed to stay. Nothing traditional in your world is supposed to stay during this time. We've given you that one too. We took you back on many, many years. We said, look back like several hundred years and you can see where things change. You're doing that now. And so the only way you change is to break the restrictions that you've placed on yourselves about how you thought it should be and thinking that this is the only right way or that way is wrong. None of you know that. And we're so grateful that you added that element to your question because that questioning of what is right and wrong is going to be the one that you're each are going to have to figure out for yourselves. And it's going to be based on how you feel. So, but first of all, we want to say, we want you to break through. We want you to break some rules. We want you to have that conversation, this loving conversation with your husband. Now, some of you might go to a counselor to get another third person. However, but we feel that you could have it with just the two of you and come to a greater understanding if you're not making one another wrong, if you're not making him wrong or you wrong, and just say, where are we going? Because this is a collective journey that we're on. And so you will do it. And we're going to wait to see what you come up with. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. Will justice prevail? Is my legal aid coming soon?
It's again, you're asking questions and you want this, many of you go to fortune tellers, for instance, except you are the fortune teller because you can create whatever is right for you. There is something in your evolutionary path that we feel that you might have a little difficulty getting that aid because you think you're dependent on it, and that's causing you to hold back on something else. Don't know what it is, but we can feel that. And so if that is going to help you on your journey, then that financial aid will come through. If it's going to hinder you from becoming your best self, it's probably not going to happen, because then an aspect of your evolution will not be fulfilled if you have to depend on that. We've always wanted all of you to be more self-sustaining, and this is exactly why we're talking about it today and why we pulled together on this day, because this is an important one. Remember the letter 8. Thank you. The
Thank you
number
for that.
8. We just realized when we said that. Oh, wow. Well, no, we want you all to think about that. Then we never give you anything accidentally. You'll figure it out later. We're sorry. Please go ahead.
I was never going to correct Wilhelm. Final question. Hi, Wilhelm. Thank you for your love and wisdom. What advice would you have for two souls who are healing, growing, entering a romantic relationship? Thank you.
Oh, you just did it. You just did it. Thank you. You have the intent. You just stated it. Many of you do this. You will say things or ask questions, and in your question, you have the answer to what you're doing. You're going into this with a conscious awareness that you are coming together for a spiritual growth. It's a partnership that you're agreeing to take together. And that awareness is so beautiful, because then when you get triggered, because you will, because that's what your relationships are supposed to do, to bring up all the old stuff that you haven't moved through. And so your relationships will do that. Not all of them, but many of them will. But especially during this time, many of them will. However, for you, you are on such a wonderful path because you have this awareness. You just didn't know that you had this awareness, but now we want you to trust it. And we want you to go in it with that awareness, because now each of you will know that if something comes up, you'll say, okay, how can we move through this place to get to a higher level of understanding for our collective group here, which is the couple of us. That's what we're doing. But you've already started with the perfect premise, and we love that so much. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And right on time, that completes the question and answer portion of today.
Thank you. We wanted to let you all know the reason that we did this today, because you're going to see dynamic events happening in your world coming up, and we wanted you to love yourselves more. Because if you do that, you're going to change the trajectory of everything that's occurring and what will occur over the next several months, because it's going to go on for a while. But we wanted you to understand that you have the ability to make a huge difference. And the one connection that you haven't made yet is that how important it is for you to become happy, how important it is for you to have the abundance that you want to have, how important it is for you to love yourself. No matter what you thought before, this time in your life and in your world, there's nothing more important that you can do than to take on that journey. And this is all the work that we've given you. And we love you all so much. And just for being here or listening to this, whenever you might listen, you will contribute something so valuable, because it's the energy of who you are and what you're putting into the world. And taking the time to listen to us and be present is so powerful. We love you all so much.
I haven't done anything like this.
It's increased the confidence that I've had in myself.
Everything is better. I mean, every single aspect of my life. My income, the progress is just amazing. Like, you can see changes from week to week.
Introducing your last development program, Life Transformation for Success, the newest part of Roger Burnley's coaching series. In this 3-month online program, you will learn the mindset tools you need to dissolve the shame of your past, discover the gifts within you that make you important to the world, and get the confidence to rise above anything that stands between you and the life that you want.
Everything changed in my life. Everything. Every single thing.
It's time for you to reprogram your mind for success and become self-actualized. If you're ready to transform your life too, learn more at yourlastdevelopmentprogram.com today.